Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and this is the Eve Universe's show's continued coverage of the CSM 17, this time with Benjamin Rushing. How's it going, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. How are you yourself?
I'm doing great. We've got lots of interviews to go over, but you guys are such interesting fellas, it doesn't even feel like work. So thank you for asking, though. But okay, so normally, like, I try to talk about how much I know the person and whatnot. I've had several interviews with people that I know pretty well. I don't know you, so why don't we start with who are you, dude? Like, I there's this cool
Yeah,
logo down here that I've never really seen before.
yeah. Well, I'm the executor of Sorry in Advance, which is a Null Sec alliance. We're in the south into Exoteria and Fitabolis. We're part of RMC, so Red Menace Coalition. So in the south with a bunch of our friends there. So we're having like quite a lot of fun. We've been around from around like anyway a year and a half, a little bit more. Things are really good for us. We're like a small group, or a reunion of like alliances. So the coalition itself, it's we made our way into nullsec by like working together as alliances, and things are have been like really great for us. Like great content all around, like conquest, eviction, yeah, everything has been happening for like it's been having like a great time, like my best time in Eve as forever.
Which coalition did you say you're part of?
RMC, so
Oh,
Red Menace Coalition.
okay, cool. So on here you say that we don't need someone who understands the little guy. We need somebody who's been through it all and is still considered a little guy. Why don't you expand a little bit on that and explain why both you are both experienced and still considered a little guy.
Well, I literally built Sorry in Advance from the ground up. So from the corporation to like people saying, "Hey, like I like the way you're doing thing, but I would like it to be like a little like a more open because the initial corporation was like for only French speaker." So other people wanted to get in, so we created the Sorry in Advance, and from there, like a lot of stories that actually happened. So we started back in the way, in Providence with NRDS and that kind of stuff. Then some stuff happened in Providence, and we continue like we went to the Great Wildlands. Understood that NRDS was not for us, so we went elsewhere where we actually find some of our old friends that were starting a coalition, and from there it has
I'm actually
been.
going to jump in here real quick.
Yes, sure.
So NRDS, just for everybody who doesn't know, is not red, don't shoot. In general, Providence is relatively historically unique in the fact that they focus on having an area where you don't get killed by default, but only if you're known to be a bad guy or whatever. So you started with the NRDS mentality and then I guess evolved past that.
Evolve would not be respectful of the people that are doing the NRDS. Like I have great respect for them. It's a great goal. It's like playing Eve but on the hard mode. Like really, because well, there's so many mechanics that can be used to trick it.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
You're intentionally giving
So
yourself a disadvantage.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's hard because like one of the alliance that was against us back in Providence was clever use of neutral tunes.
Mm.
So you see it. So yeah, like I won't say that I've evolved from that, but I've understood that it was not something for me and the people that were with me. So we went to like the usual. Well, you're neutral. I can shoot you. So that's simpler, and I do enjoy more the game that way. And the politics behind it, it's oh my, so simple. So yeah, like more playtime, more fun, less headaches. Yeah, so from that time, like we actually, like when we formed RMC, we had this question: where could actually we go to have, well, content? It was at the time of the Papi Imperium War, a few like a 1 year and a half back, and we went, well, directly in the middle. So between the two giants, in Aquarius, we took some stuff there. Like quite a great deal of fun. Then from there we've got evicted. We went to Impasse, like a lot of fun, really. Like the community that we've formed with not only Sorry but with RMC is really great. People from all around the world. We've been having like a real blast. So that's mostly from where I'm from.
Okay, so how are you both experienced and still considered a little guy?
Well, I started only like in 2017. If you check the dotland of Sorin Advance, we're about like 400, and if you compare to the blocks, well, that's nothing.
Mm.
So we have to really make our way through Null Sec, do a lot of diplomacy, not to be steamrolled, and actually get respected. But all that has to deal with playing and harassing like other like little groups, so that we can actually take space, and like maintaining it is actually a good challenge.
So this is your first time running for CSM, correct?
Affirmative.
What has led you to want to run now?
Well, there is definitely a need for a representative from the smaller organization to actually be on like the CSM table, not just someone that says, "Oh yeah, we do care about like the little guy." No, you need someone that went through it and is still considered a little guy. So that's where I saw that there was something that was missing, and that's one of the reasons that I'm actually running for it, because there's a lot of little guys like all around that need the representation, and I saw that it's missing, so I'm there.
Right. It's also, yeah, that's actually a good point. For those people who do want to know more about you, I'm not going to obviously play it all here because, uh, you know, we have time limits, time constraints, but there is
Okay,
a
so hi
talk
everyone,
that you
and
gave
welcome
at
to I'm
2022
Awesome and I'm going to this presentation.
where you talk about
So yeah, like
taking communities to the
we
next
know who
level.
we are here. Yep.
So without watching the whole thing, why don't you give us like a brief summary of like what it is that this presentation was designed to talk about and teach?
Okay. So well, first I introduce myself as I'm a real life biologist, and I take the like biology concepts. I go through some psychology concept, and I explain how we can actually use Eve Online to actually up our game and be better at what we're doing as a community, increase our well-being, and that's one of the big points in the presentation, is that like I explained that we can actually increase our well-being
Right.
playing Eve Online, and then I give like a bunch of research studies and example that are actually still happening right now, as how you can actually elevate those community. One of those being in the positive, it's the positive psychology that I'm talking about. And this section is actually something that is used in the U.S. Army for to train like the drill sergeant,
Right.
to actually increase the resilience of the soldier, and get a lot of benefits to actually get better, and so that the outcome of a difficult situation are really lessen by the way that you actually think and see the whole life around you. So I speak about a lot of stuff there. So like, I do really do wish people to have a look at it.
Yeah, and I'm hitting
Because
the slides as real quick as you're talking about it. So this is really cool stuff, especially since this is the kind of stuff that I jive with as like a general game design. When I talk about game design and motivation and all that kind of stuff. Um, and this is also something that we know is huge in the upper echelons of CCP, right? CCP
yep.
Hilmar, CCP Ghost, the friendship machine. These are huge things for them. So I guess what I'd start with is, do you overall agree with the conclusions that CCP Ghost and CCP Hilmar have made in their presentations and whatnot for the friendship machine and beyond the friendship machine?
Overall, yeah. Actually, in the presentation, I used part of their presentation to go like forward from there. So like I'm literally taking like CP Ghost and Ilmar presentation in some of my slides, and I take it and I put and I go beyond. That's where I actually make the link with the positive psychology that actually helps the improvement of people's well-being. And with that, I like the fact that you can actually affect and improve your well-being. That's something that is like kind of a power, and the use of that power, that's where I actually went into respect, which is actually like if you check the definition that I gave, it's literally like how the you use the well-being into a community. So I get like into respect. What is respect? How like it affects like you, the community that you represent, like your family, your alliance, and everything.
Right. Okay. So I mean that's super critical because like all of these other candidates are talking about like, oh well they're doing faction warfare and I know faction warfare, or oh they've ignored Null Sec and I do Null Sec. But like you're probably the first candidate that I've talked to in several years that come to it with literally the same vibe as CCP Hilmar, right? Like,
Oh, really?
well, I mean, the idea of like psychology and like the meta levels of things and how the game can be good for us as people and all that kind of stuff. Like this is something that CCP clearly cares about, but the player base doesn't focus on as much, if that makes sense. Like with
Yeah.
CCP, most of the time it's mechanics or or CSM rather. It's mostly about mechanics or play styles, etc. You're talking more about the overall psychology of things, right?
Well, not only that, is that like if you want a big machine to change, you need to understand how it works and where it's going. I work for a big like a big entity, and I'm kind of a cog in the machine. But over the years, I've been making like a lot of change in this big machine, and I've been doing that, understanding the needs of it and where it was actually going. And that's exactly the same thing that you need to have in mind where you go with a company as CCP. You need to understand where they're going, what's their plan. Like, do you want, will they want to be frivolous with the game? I don't think so. Something
No.
maybe more stable. So knowing that, you have like an idea of what's gonna be their goals in the following years, and then adjust actually what you're gonna do to represent the community that you're representing, and aligning, formulating like your goals to actually you get in line with the company, and that's how you get thing passed through. And also it improve your understanding of why some thing are happening. Plus being on the CSM gives you the advantage of being able to ask questions that would otherwise not be answered. So that's really a plus.
Right. So what would you say to people who kind of map the idea of like CCP going down this friendship machine thought process and this idea of like psychology and all that kind of stuff and say that like that's the point in which Eve has kind of lost the script. That they point to that as being kind of negative. They wanted the game to be more um, players in Cutthroat, not like engineered or tweaked by CCP for some higher purpose. That they see that maybe there's a lot of energy that's being wasted because the notions are misguided. Do you agree with those concepts? I doubt it. So why don't you speak
Yeah.
a little bit to
Yeah.
the importance of it and whether or not that is it's good for Eve Online?
Well, Eve Online is a community. It's the best community, into the whole gaming community. So yeah, like getting like energy into it, like resources, research, and everything. That's not only something that is good for the community, but it can actually be good for the whole wide world. So yeah, like it's not only something that is closed like only to the gaming stuff, because Eve doesn't only matter for Eve. Just think about like the research that has been done through Project Discovery
I
for the
strongly
COVID
agree.
19 and everything. Like the like all the money that has been raised for like charity, the like everything like the disaster in the world and everything. Eve is really more than just a game, and that's actually what we need to go towards. That we are a really great community. We're doing more than what other community do in a lot of ways. So yeah, we need to keep improving the community, and that's something that really into it, and that's something that I can bring to the table.
I agree with you strongly. um, how do you feel that Eve has been over the last couple of years, though? Like, some people will say that CCP has been absolutely bonkers and failing completely. Some people would say that we've been doing the hard decisions and getting through it. Where do you stand on how CCP has been delivering since, over the last few years?
Well, on the delivery itself, poorly. Like some marketing skills 101 would be quite something to add to their skill list.
It seems like
Uh,
with all of their talk about mastery of psychology, that like their ability to work with the psychology of the player base ends up like failing completely, huh?
yeah, well, I like just like basic stuff. Like, don't increase the price without giving like a carrot. Like, do something. Like you
Could have
cannot
been
just like,
messaged a lot
hey,
better.
yeah, like that's a fail. Okay,
Yeah, I
so
mean, like
one.
even the pieces were there, right? Like heraldry were getting quote unquote for free, right? So it's like they had things that they could have tied it together. They just decided not to, I guess.
Yeah, like the marketing plan is was no, not great. Um, what was the original question actually?
Uh, how CCP's been doing over the last few years.
Okay, yeah, and like the delivery, well, they could have done it better. Also, we have to understand that it's a business, and there's been like a lot of article about that actually when they get out with the workwall era that was actually I don't remember the exact year, but like in those articles we can actually see clearly that it's like just before it's been bought by Pearl Abyss. So just to actually make the game look healthy, and after that like going back to what it was like in 2012. So once you understand that, okay, well, it was for to actually get bought by Pearl Abyss, so where are we going from there? And those are the questions that I will actually have like to have a real answer being on this CSM table, because we don't know what's happening, because it's still a business that want to run forever. That's what they're saying. So that's really something that I'm really intrigued about, because yeah, everything has been done for a reason.
But how do you feel that CCP has implemented or reacted to the information from the friendship machine? Do you feel like they're the because sometimes I feel like there's a disconnect. Like they have they have these great ideas about the friendship machine, but then the actual decisions and designs and things that come out don't support it, right? Like an example that I had was like emerging conduits were a great way for people to like start those friendships under fire, literally. But because the majority of the value was in a drop from the final boss, you inherently install this conflict between these people at the very beginning, rather than having it more be just the general payout, right? Because the payout was the same to everyone for the first three people. So if you're by yourself, you might as well have up to two more people. You'll get the same payout. But the loot, which was more than the payout, made it so that there was a natural conflict. Do you feel like CCP has done a pretty good job at working with these principles? You know, being somebody who also deals with it, or do you feel like they're still like tripping over it?
I feel that CCP goals is not being heard enough. That there are like others like priorities that are like getting pushed over, and that's weird because like you know that they put like a lot of effort into it, but they don't implement it as much. So
Right.
there's a disconnection somewhere. And yeah, like I do have like a question for CCP that actually I would like to have like straight answers to.
So let's bring this home then. Uh, why does the CSM need your skill set?
Well, not only the CSM, but I think like the whole community needs someone that actually cares about well the improvement of the whole community and can actually get it to the next level. So I think that's something that's not only important for the game, but let's look forward to actually move it like out of the game as Eve is actually more than able to do so. So
Well,
not only
that's a good reason for you to have a YouTube channel or a blog, but like what value is there to having you with an NDA at the table as they discuss what's happening next?
well the community is it's one thing, but like if we go through like my present like not my presentation but my my CSM blog, there's like other things
Yes.
for which like I actually stand for, which is like in the smaller groups. So like there's been a lot of stuff happening with to the smaller groups just recently with the structures. That's something that has been heard for all for quite a lot of them. Some well like they don't care much because like they have the S, but like the newer one, it's quite difficult when you get like your first writer that you've been working really hard, and that someone just like push it out like with like with their hand, like your sandcastle is like actually just gone, and you have like nothing. So like having like some kind of safety for like the newer people, so that they can actually enjoy the castle like at least a week or something. And yeah, like, so some safety for the new people, so that they actually started to work on that with um, like the war deck and such.
Right.
So if like I don't know, like let's say the war deck would be delayed like a week or something, so that the people can actually enjoy the like their sun castle if that's their first structure. I mean, like not
So
something well.
so what you're saying is that like when a corporation first becomes eligible for a war deck, rather than having it be instant, have it be, you know, give a 24-hour, 48-hour, week, whatever lead time. In the same way as like when you get declared a war, you get 24 hours to get ready for it. It seems a bit odd that the moment your thing gets put online, you're now vulnerable.
Exactly. So like let them play the sand a little bit before like chewing everything out.
Right. Especially since people may not even fully understand the consequence. Like, um, you know, giving them a timer helps them give them an opportunity to take it back. Now there is concern though about like somehow that being gamed, moving a structure between different shell corps or something like that to keep it constantly immune. But you could get around that. You could say like the a structure that is transferred doesn't get that advantage or whatever.
Well, there's different way, and there's gonna be a way to abuse it.
Sure.
That's Eve.
Um, so you also say that you want to advocate for the French speaking community. Do you
Yes.
feel like the French community has been the lack of representation by the French community has been hurtful to them?
Well, I think that a lot of language have been like left out. Like we got like the Spanish people that are getting some stuff right now, which is really great. But if I look at the French community, the last representative on the CSM was, I think, in CSM 4 to 6 or something. So, well, that's not a lot, and the a lot of people like in the French community are not like all in, let's say, one group, as are like
I thought
three
you were all
four
in
group.
Galente faction warfare.
You wish.
I run it. Well, it's funny because like no, it is true because the Galente are very French, so we have a lot of French speaking folk over in the Galente faction warfare side.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. But you feel like again, how do you feel like their lack of representation has been detrimental? What do you feel like you need to bring to the table as a French representative? What do you hope?
Well, not only as a French representative, but there's a lag between the NPE and like the rest of the game. Like a big step where like you got a lot of people falling there, and like sometimes like I speak to like some of my friends that are like outside the game, and they tell me what there was like a French thing somewhere in this game. I never saw that. Like I finished the NPE, and I was like, what do I do? So like the link with the not only like the corporation, but the communities and the communities that speak a certain language to actually get those people and get them into the game, like this this link is missing, and we really need to improve on that, because like when you're alone in your basement and you're starting Eve, like you need to get in touch with those people, and the way that the game is currently built, it's not helpful for that. So yeah, this link needs to really be improved, no matter the language.
Right. So jumping back a little bit, uh, representing little group, you don't have a big block. You're part of a smaller group. You live in Null Sec.
Yep.
Um, this has been one of those things that's like, as long as I've been playing Eve, right? Like, how do we make it so that small groups have a place to live in nullsec and it's not just dominated by these few coalitions? And sometimes I wonder how much it's just everybody kind of blustering hot air, and there are small groups that just aren't necessarily as visible or public. That's, I mean, like I said, I've never heard of your, I hadn't heard of you really until today. Your group, your coalition is still like not really widely known, yet you're making it. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Do you think that there is a place right now in Eve Online for smaller groups and that people just aren't necessarily respecting that? Or do you feel like there is something terribly wrong that need to be fixed in order to do so? And if so, what could they possibly do that would support newer or smaller groups without giving undue support to larger groups?
The last part of the question is like the real challenge there, because if you like for the null sec, if you help like the small group, the bigger group right now, like will take a huge advantage over it. So yeah, like what could be done? Well, that's really a complex question, but as of now, like all the let's say like the opportunities or the answer that like people gave to this question can always be like leveled up, and taken to volume for like the biggest like entities, and you don't really have a way of surviving into nullsec if you don't have well, surviving longer into Null Sec if you're not allied with one side or the other. Being on your own, you just be contacted by the sides and say like, "Hi, who you? Do you PvP? Okay, you got 48 hours. Bye." So yeah, that's mostly like how things goes.
So what do you hope again? What do you hope to do as a CSM member? What what is the difference between a CSM that has you on it versus a CSM that doesn't?
Well, first of all, be able to say no, CCP. That's bad for the small player because I'm one, and like just like preserves and defends like against like future iteration that could be bad. That's that's one.
You don't think the CSM is already doing that?
Well, if it's good for the big blocks, they might forget to say something.
Hmm. I see. So you're suggesting that most of the people we focus a lot on block
Yep,
votes, and the block people get their in, and then there's the independent votes. But the problem is that the independent votes are often defined by how not block they are. So we're talking about people like Arcia, we're talking about people like Torvald, people that are not nullsec. So we have block nullsec, and we have not nullsec, and you're saying that that ends up being a problem, and you're hoping to be that. Like I've seen plenty of people like Imperium members, like SIGs or whatever. It's like I want to do the small gang guys, but they're still part of a big group. You want to be able to represent the small people that are trying to stay small but have a place out there. Is that accurate?
that's quite accurate. Like we all aspire to grow, but like with what we got at the moment, it's not something that we can actually challenge.
Do you feel like you've
So,
been successful so far, relatively speaking?
oh, relatively speaking, yes. I think that our team is like really great. We got like a lot of really dedicated people. Things like we've been not only lucky, but like the morale is really good. Like we succeed a lot. Yeah, we get kicked around from time to time because sometimes like, well, you got the big blocks just like pushing you away. So hey, but no, overall we've been quite successful. But the thing is, with the little guy that want actually to get their place, you actually need like a lot of real life skill. Not like the one I'm referring to are IT people, because if you don't get
Yeah.
those IT people, you cannot grow. Like you're limited to a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's something that needs improvement. Like the actual tool that we got to manage corporation and alliances, it's like outdated. We actually need to get like a management system that fit with the 2022 like your organization, which is lacking.
It does feel like a lot of the corporation alliance interface kind of comes from the time period of EVE Online where the UI was almost designed to generate mistakes for other people to
Yeah,
capitalize on, right? Like,
yeah. There's a lot of thing that needs to be looked at, like just like the simplest thing, like saying that this person is this person's alt, so that you can like reduce like the like your view on the corporation and be able to see like easily what you got in front of you, and be able to get like numbers out of the game without using like a third party tools. uh, there's so much that needs to be done on this level, so that the little guy don't get actually to hire or find a way to get an IT person to have like a party app working, plus like the renting or the buying of servers to host that, and all the extra fees that comes with running an alliance and a coalition. So that's a lot when you just want actually to play a game, but you not only do you have to play for your subscription, well, if you're one of those that pays, but you got like all of their stuff that you need to actually pay for if you want to get above like a certain level of size.
Yeah. Well, you've clearly caught the attention and imagination of some of the chat. There's a good conversation going on, and I kind of want to bring one of it to you. So, like, as an issue of new player retention and the formation of these smaller groups, do you feel like the solution comes from fostering brand new organizations to grow, or do you feel like the solution might be to convince people to break away from existing foundations in order to like generate their new thing? You know, so rather is it something that new players should be like the tools be given in such that like new players grow together as a new corp, or is this a matter for experienced players to be able to, you know, create their own empire?
I like that. As I was saying before, I'm a biologist. Okay, so I'm gonna take it to like an ecosystem,
That's kind of one of the
like
reasons why I thought it would be an interesting question for you.
because in an ecosystem you need diversity. Okay, so if we keep it simple, diversity keep your ecosystem strong when something bad happens. Let's say like a fire or like a flood or whatever. It keep your ecosystem resilient. So the more the diversity that you got into your ecosystem, like the better it's going to be in the future. So having like a lot of new ideas of like of new people like all around the place, not only like the one that are on the top and well that they know everything. Well, that always lasts only like a few time, but you need to always challenge yourself, get new people and like get like the new idea, not like to get into this stagnation phase, because when you reach stagnation phase and that you lack diversity, that's where you actually have like a shift into your ecosystem, and that your ecosystem will either like switch to something that you don't want, and it will actually be something that could actually be bad. So yeah, diversity in any kind, way, shape or form into the an ecosystem, that's something that we have to be looking for always.
So, are you saying both? I
It's
do we
not a
want
yes
to?
or no question.
That's. I mean, like, are we? Yeah, are we? Is it more about giving and fostering groups starting from scratch? You know, like the people that come in as a team
Well,
or whatever, or is it? Are we wanting to encourage legacy members making their own, you know, shops?
well, the thing is, you want to actually foster like the new ones so that they actually know what they are getting into, toward what like they're aiming, what do they have in front of you. But you also have to get the mentality into the community that it's your job as a leader to train the like tomorrow's leaders.
Right.
So for that, like you need to get all those new aspiring leader to make them understand what they are doing, what they are going into. So like both are important, but as of now, I think that we should more focus on the newer group, as we see what like the big groups are doing right now is just like taking them and well, here you go, you're now a F1 monkey.
Right. Well, I think this kind of flips on its head the whole idea that like anything you do for the new player or the smaller group will be, you know, exponentially exploited by the bigger group. I think that we actually could use that to answer this question, right? This goes back to, you know, I've seen videos. I think Extra Credits had a really good video on like accessibility features, you know, like colorblind mode and, you know, these kinds of things in video games, and how they are designed to help people that don't have the capabilities, but end up making a game that is better for people who do. right? That by considering people with deficiencies, we build a game that is just more comfortable for everyone. So by that notion, if we make sure that a brand new group trying to form themselves have everything that they need to be successful, that also makes it so that those experienced players that want to form their own group have the tools to do so as well, without necessarily making it so that like big groups can disproportionately benefit from this because they're the ones already benefiting from this, right? They're the ones with the IT teams. They're the ones with all these things. They're the ones with the stuff that these tools would be meant to replicate, I guess. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword, but yeah, still we still need to aim for it, like to include like the more people that we can.
Fair enough. Do you feel that scarcity is over?
I don't think no. I think the scarcity is the new reality because yeah, I still got like this graphic in my head of like the Rockwell era and like what they've done, and it's like no,
Yeah.
uh, that's that's the new normal. We might have maybe a carrot down the way for Lucky, uh, but no, like the idea that I got right now is really like okay, well, that's the new reality. Deal with it.
Well, if it's the new normal, is it really scarcity? Like scarcity is a comparative
No,
term, right?
yeah, I think it's the new reality. So
Yeah. That's why I
yeah,
mean I say that scarcity's over. This is it. You might as well get used to it.
yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
So,
Okay. Because yeah, normally my follow up question would be, if it's not over, what would it take for you to say that it is over? Um, Now you don't think that that's going to happen, but let's stick with that question. What would it take for you to
okay.
be like, no, 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 scarcity's over, guys. It's cool.
Oh well, I think it would need something that has to do with Prolabis somewhere that would like to sell CCP for something, and then we're gonna have like some ridiculously high stuff and something for the big blocks to actually be like really happy. So I think that if there's a change that makes like the big blocks too happy, well, ask yourself some serious question.
So you're saying that if scarcity isn't over, it shouldn't end. That we should adjust to this. That this is actually a good state to be in.
The thing is, with the stockpile that the big group have, it's not realistic to like as like a new organization to actually dream of like getting like past those stockpile in the next I don't know like 5 years, 10 years. I don't know like there are some stockpile that are just ridiculously high and perfectly safe in NPC station. So like yeah, like it's all the new group that came after the Rockwall period will have actually like a harder time to get like to those space empire
Right.
because yeah they don't have all that money, all that minerals and everything.
Yeah, that's a
So
big thing that I like to remind people of. It's like the Imperium, sure, the Imperium had to grow up with Bob, but the Imperium didn't have to grow up in an environment where the Imperium already existed, right? Like the people that are growing up now are growing up under very different conditions than, the people who are trying to teach them or, guide them or lead them.
yep, exactly.
So, what was the moment? What was the catalyst? What was the thing that happened where you were like, I need to sacrifice a whole bunch of my time and then try to, spend a year to try to be help this game out? Like what was the catalyst that pushed you over to being like, I am running for the CSM this year or whatever?
Well, that's the logical step. Because like before that, like everything started with Eve North in 2019 where like I've met like really awesome people. It was my first time doing going to a real life event.
And that was during
From there, like
the Invasion World Tour. So all seven, they didn't have a normal fan fest, but CCP threw a lot of support towards all of what would normally be like kind of the minor gatherings. So Eve North was Fan Fest North that year.
yeah, yeah, basically, and it was like really, really awesome. I've met like some of my now like corp mates and alliance mate, and from that I actually started my alliance and other stuff. But in the last 2 years, like I've also been the one making the Eve Montreal. So I've been doing two of those, and it's been a blast. So it's like the like whole community around in Montreal and elsewhere in Canada and in the northern state coming together, and people were having really really a lot of fun. So from that I said, well, that's great, because not only I have like my RMC community and my Sorry community, I now have like the Eve Montreal community. So that's actually what actually pushed me to get into like the presentation that I've done at FanFest. So presenting myself at the CSM for all of those community that I stand for is the logical next step.
How do you feel about the things that CCP announced? The focus on faction warfare, the introduction of arcs, the heraldry, the interbus systems. How do you feel overall about the FanFest keynote and content?
Well, I feel good that they announced it. They didn't put dates on them.
Well, within the year
Yeah,
ish.
within a year, so it's still it's still I still feel like a promise more than an announce.
That's fair. But knowing that that's going to be their focus for the next, the time that you're on the CSM if you were to be elected, how do you feel about that stuff? Do you feel like faction warfare should be the one thing that's being focused on? Do you feel like story arcs are a good idea? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I feel good about the idea behind it. It's just like when it actually fell after like the raising of the price, when we were like, okay, like give us something, like we're hungry and we paid you. You didn't give. You said that you're gonna feed me in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so this part on the content itself. So yeah, the story arcs, I think that giving the player the choice of like what there's gonna be happening is good. Like actually, like I liked the Triglavian arc story. That at some point people just went, oh, it's gonna get into Niarja. Oh yeah, let's make it fall. So like those kind of deals was that we thought it was unmovable, just become something else. So that's something that is interesting. It feels that the world is more alive, it's less stagnant. So the story arcs are really something that I think is going to be interesting, with everything that's going to go with the factional warfare. Just sorry. So I think that the factional warfare, the fact that you will be able to individually get into factional warfare without your old corporation and alliance, that's something really great. Although it's gonna be quite a challenge for some manager of corporation and alliance for the dispute that's going to be happening between Galante and Kildare and such. So yeah, like I think that the section there, yeah, some managers gonna have interesting time, me included.
What are you most concerned about not being represented if you're not on the CSM? Right? Like what would you be concerned wouldn't be advocated for without you on the CSM?
Well, I think that like yes, some let's say everything. Well, everything that has to do with smaller group, but that has been like spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
But also, like they are now implementing like a new language into the game, and they are like there are some things that like as like like a foreign language representative that we want to make sure that it's not happening, because as of now like the most of the languages create like those little echo chamber that like they are kind of cut off from like the rest of the community, and there are needs there to actually break those silo and just like get into like with the rest of the community. Don't isolate yourself, so that
Do,
we can actually be together.
hold on. Am I understanding this correctly? Are you suggesting that the localization is potentially problematic because it causes people to be in echo chamber?
Nope.
Go
Nope.
then. Help me out.
Okay, so first of all, like you need people to have their sense of belonging to a group. That's your priority.
Correct.
Okay, once that's done at a higher level, you need this community to actually interact with the other ones, because it's unique, it's rich, and if it doesn't interact with the rest of the ecosystem cannot benefit from this diversity. So see, like there's like two level there.
Sure. Okay. So what you're saying is that um, you are concerned that the push for organizations will cause people to become too insular, that there's this drive for people to become islands upon themselves. That actually, so one of the big changes that we've been seeing over the last few years, on top of the scarcity stuff, but CCP Rattati has been really big on ecosystem, which is a word that you've been throwing around a lot. And one of the big pieces is that we have transitioned away from each area of space kind of being an island unto themselves, Null Sec having everything that they need to build everything, for example, towards no one having everything that they need, and thus necessitating trade between different factions. This has been widely maligned by a lot of people, but of course it has, because of course they want them to have everything right there available to them. Um, you know a lot, understand a lot about ecosystems and stuff in general. So you're talking the same talk as CCP Rattati. A lot of people have demonized him. How do you feel about CCP Rattati and his management of the ecosystem?
It's complex because just as a real life ecosystem is really really complex, the one that we got with Eve, it's well even like it's on the same level of complexity, because just as like in ecosystem, like you want like the marshes to be there for this reason, you want like, so all those spaces have their reasons to be. The same thing what's been like happening is that like some of the resources that are like spread out across like all the area of space are not necessarily as easy to obtain, like on like a cost benefit sense, to actually make sure that the ecosystem is healthy enough to provide. I got like in mind some gas that are like harder to came by to actually build capitals and like faction battleships and other stuff like that. So yeah, like it still needs improvement. The big idea behind it, that you don't isolate yourself and be able to build all your own stuff, that's actually like that's good. That you need to go like to see your neighbor and say, oh, like I don't have this resources. Can we trade the resources so that we can like both like actually be able to trade and like to live. So that's the idea, but like pushed far beyond, so that we can actually be able to have like a real economy. And the economy in Eve is, well, it's like it's really good, it's really big, it's something that has been studied like in universities and like a lot of places. And it needs to actually have regions and places that like are not like autonomous by themselves. Otherwise, well, you create another kind of echo chamber, and well, people just don't want to get involved with the rest of the community, and now we miss like their diversity into the ecosystem. So yeah, like
So
making trade routes. Yeah.
So would you say that overall CCP Rotati has been right and the player base hasn't gotten it? Do you feel like the player base has been right and CCP Rotati hasn't gotten it? Or do you feel like CCP Rotati understands the top level needs but is executing it poorly, or some other equivalent?
That's a good question. I think that at the moment there's a kind of a dev discussion at some point where like the player base are saying like, okay, that's not good because blah blah blah, but they don't get all the information of the upper management level of Ratati, so that we can actually understand what's happening. And the other side, like the manage the CCP Ratati management, like look down at the at the player and say, well, you don't know, like you don't know anything. I'm gonna take some like input here and here and there, and for everything else, well, I got other ideas. So that feels like that more than anything else. But is it all wrong? I don't think so. I think that the big picture is right, but we're missing information to actually make a good judgment on it.
How would you describe your technical knowledge of the game, knowledge of mechanics, of ship fits, of design, and that kind of stuff, on a scale of
Um,
0 to Satonia?
oh, to Sutonia. Oh my
I
god,
just,
that's
I'm just kidding.
um. Well, that would be low on this scale. Um.
Fair enough.
Oh well, I don't know, like to like let's say 0 to 100. I don't know, like somewhere like in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
So you feel fairly comfortable with the mechanics. You can design your own fits and stuff. You could
Yeah.
talk intelligently about it. That's good. And I asked that because, like, what I'm pulling out of this conversation is that, I keep asking you questions about, like, why do you need to be on the CSM? What do you bring? Because what I kind of see here is someone who isn't every other CSM candidate, right? Every CSM candidate I could like measure against each other. Technical knowledge, what block they're part of, what area of space they're going to advocate for, whatever. You bring a totally different, incomparable set of reasons why you would make a good CSM member against them, right? I wouldn't necessarily even compare your technical mechanical knowledge over a different CSM member, because that isn't, while you can do that, that isn't what you bring to the table. You bring a level, a type of specialization, a type of understanding, and a type of expertise that I actually agree needs to be at that table, right? Because, Hilmar isn't there most of the time. The Ghost isn't there most of the time. When they're talking about these things, it's important for somebody who understands that level, maybe even to function as a translator between CCP and the CSM, right? To help bridge that gap, because you kind of understand, you're working with the same language and mentality that they are, that a lot of the other players, no matter how technically knowledgeable they are, just aren't speaking the same language, like, at all. So to that end, I think that, we talk about wanting to have a more diverse CSM. And I think that when we say that, we often mean like, well, we need a faction warfare candidate and a wormhole candidate. But I think that you better represent what it would mean to have a diverse CSM, right? Because you bring an
And
entirely different perspective than the experienced player that would be advocating for whatever period of space they come from. I sincerely believe you in this idea that you are not, you're not ignorant, but yet you can, you're not a little guy or whatever, but you can advocate for them in a pretty unique way. So that is a pretty good strength.
Oh, thanks. And remember, V for me.
And you're respectful to trying not to get yellow dollar signs. No,
Yeah. Yeah, I try to.
yeah, and I mean I see agreement in chat and all that stuff. So, but I feel like I've poked at about everything I can. Is there anything that you wanna bring up as a topic or for us to chew on?
Well, that's actually quite a high note to get on, but there's I do talk about Logipilot in my on my speech there. So yeah, like I think that
I'm
well,
a
not
Logi
only
pilot. Tell me more.
yeah, so not only well the basic like real basic would be to have like the Jolly Pilot and Ezekiel, but having actually like a reputation of some sort so that you can know like how good this logic pilot is like how fast can he lock people after a broadcast is like his repairment do they come into in the shield, or is he too slow, what's the amount of shield that he's ripping in a fight, like all those kind of statistics about like how good you really are as a logic pilot, so that you can build your reputation, having
Right.
some kind of note of system around it.
Yep. Either
So
either nobody died and therefore the Logi did great, or a lot of people died and the Logi did terrible. But who did terrible? Who did great? Who's dragging it? These are things that are unknown. Uh,
exactly.
I have actually heard the opposite argument as to this is why we shouldn't have Logi on kill mails, because people want to be able to sabotage, to be able to, you know, purposefully go in and not do their job and have that be difficult to detect. What would you say to those people?
Well, you always want you'll always have slaggers. That's the way of the thing. But actually, since the kill mills are automatic, like do something that is automatic for everyone, so that you get the reputations right. Because as of now, if you get the kill mail, like you know what has been happening, like you got all kinds of information on this, but you don't have like anything about Logipilot on this, and they can really make a big difference in a fight.
So CCP has said that they want to put Logi on kill mails in the past. They said they were going to, and then they didn't, right? So I'm
They
gonna just
announced something, but did not say it. Oh, I
well, I
remember
mean,
being weak.
yeah, but my understanding is that the reason why was because they hit like technical limitations. It would take too much work for them to act. They would have to rework to like a big chunk of it, making it a giant effort for a small thing. However, people have been asking for kill marks, logi, skins, all these kinds of things, myself included. CCP, you go to CCP. You're on the You got elected to the CSM. You go to the CCP and you go, what is going on with Logi on kill mails? And they say, well, the problem is that while it seems like a pretty minor feature, it would take like a major feature worth of effort in order for it to do, and we can't just sell an expansion on kill mails. Convince them differently.
Well, actually, that like the idea there, like you want to be part of a group, like I said before. You want to know what's your value into this group. So when you actually get into what's your role in a group, because like everyone, like in any kind of organization, need a role to fulfill. And like if you're not evaluated on that role and that you're left out, and well, that's an issue. Otherwise, it's because you're casting a portion of the player base aside purposefully.
But I think that
So
Logi gets a lot of respect as it is, right? Like everybody says, "Thank you,
yeah,
Logi," whatever. So like,
yes,
is it
but
necessary for them to be on kill mails to be able to be included?
yeah, but actually, like people say, "Thank you, Lodge." So you get the respect from your for your community, for your fleet mate. Well, once in a while, depending how stuff is happening. But you're not like you cannot just like type your name and see, oh, that's the greatest Logi pilot in everything, in the whole wild place. Okay, nice. So now that I got this information, I can primary him or her.
Yeah. If nothing else, I think that the conflicting desire or need to like bring damage drones in order to feel like you're contributing is a
Yeah,
pretty good indication that something isn't working. But is it worth the effort? Like, if it's not just a simple thing, is it still worth it to do it?
yeah. Well, that's come back to the ability to see like what's the real roadmap of the company, and see how well can you get in line with those needs, and telling them, well, since you're going that way, that is actually something that helps you fulfill that goal. And since like you're already working on that section, and you have that's going to be coming out in a few months, that's going to be a plus value to the project. So speaking in their terms, like with like what they actually put a great value on, that's how you get your things like along the way.
I think that the selling point is you say, well, if you add skins on it, then people will pay. People will be more inclined to buy skins because now that
Yeah, all
it's
kind of
on.
skills. Yeah, that's true.
uh, oh man, I had something else, but I think that I missed it. Oh well. Um, oh yeah, just to validate that, I guess a little bit, like on a
Yep.
personal anecdote level, I actually run into this problem. I mean, I kind of laugh it off or whatever, but there are plenty of people that pull up my kill board and are like, "Oh, look at how few records you're on, Ash. You haven't done anything in, months or whatever." And I'm like, "You realize I'm a scout in Logi like 90% of the time, right? Like me not being on the kill board means that I've done something right." Like it'd be nice for us to be able to, because people do, like the psychology does say like, well, you have more
Yeah,
or less value based on it. It'd be nice to be able to show off like, no, actually I'm a really good Logi pilot. That's what I do.
yeah. Well, not only that, because like some of you might have seen like the battle royale yesterday, and at some stage of the battle royale, to break a tie, they actually made us make a 1v1 at the sun in Jita to actually like see who's gonna be winning. And yeah, well, most of the people were actually voting for like the wormhole guy, because yeah, well, whatever. And I'm a logi, so if you look at my kill board, well, it's not that great, because well, logi stuff. What they didn't took into account is that like as a logi, well, I know how to move because I get my logi wings with me,
Yeah.
and I know like some of my distances and my fits, like how things are going to be, what are like the most like efficient fits that I can like, actually throw against like a 1v1 on the spot like that.
Underestimate your Logi pilots at your peril. they like they have to like they're running on a whole nother level than everybody else most of the time.
So you might imagine like the outcome.
That's pretty good. I I, I appreciate you repping it for the reps, as it were. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to go over? Because I think that
No, I think that you only got one question left for me, though.
oh, oh, what is my what is my one question left? Oh, I
Oh,
do, I do,
oh
I even
yeah.
know what it is. See, so helpful, so helpful. The only candidate to have helped me during my own cat ears. What do you think? Yes or no?
It's a yes. Plus, if you get cat ears, I want also beaver teeth and beaver tail.
Absolutely. I always say that the cat ears is just like a catch-all kind of thing, and also snake hat greater than cat ears. I think that the beaver tail idea, especially on certain ships, would be amazing. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
I
on the big freighter, just having like the big freighter like a beaver tail behind would be just amazing.
it would be pretty good. All right. Well, thank you for coming. It's been a delight talking to you.
Same
And
line.
thank you all for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. Leave any questions that you have for Ben here, and he will either swing by and answer them, or we can get it to him. Otherwise, you can ask on his forum post and his Discord. Links will be in the doobly-doo down below. But most of all, thank you guys for just sticking through this. If you're watching this on the playlist, it'll just automatically go on to the next one. But it's all about finding out more about these candidates so that way we can have a more informed electorate and a more effective CSM. And I am particularly happy with this one because we got to know you, and I think that I'm very happy that I have. So
Thank you.
best of luck on your campaign. I hope to see you either way. I hope to see you more, and
I think it
now be
will.
like, oh, there's that guy. But on behalf of Ben and myself, Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, until next time, we'll see you in space.
Au revoir.